Day 29.00 has come and gone, so here's the corresponding reflection video for taking a half cup of water, hot water, and about a tablespoon of table salt, sodium chloride, and NaCl. Stirring it up, dissolving everything, and then seeing how long it would take to evaporate and if any crystals form. So here's the final product. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and this is a reflection on my May to June 2025 evaporation salt and water experiment. Tanis Coralee Leonhardi. And today's Tuesday, 10 June 2025. So here I, Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, reflect on my experiment testing out and documenting evaporation of 1/2 cup hot water, approximately 110 degrees Fahrenheit, with a little under 1 tablespoon table salt, NaCl, sodium chloride, mixed in during the months of May 2025 and June 2025. Started about 7:38 p.m. on Monday, 12 May 2025. Day 10.00 ended about 7:38 p.m. on Thursday, 22 May 2025. And day 26.00 was about 7:38 p.m. on Saturday, 7 June 2025. Each day was counted at the end of 24-hour time chunks. Day 1 ended about 7:38 p.m. on Tuesday, 13 May 2025. Daily temperature highs ranged in the about 50 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit range. 80s was high for late May / early June in the Seattle area. Crystals grown of halite, Halite, the mineral name, exhibited 2 crystal forms and crystallization environments. 1 dendritic on cup sides above water level. That's these beauties. And then 2 euhedral crystals in the water, which now that the water's gone is at the bottom of the glass. I have previously published 2 vlogs of pictures from the experiment, linked below in the video description if you want to check those out. Thank you for being my family, part of my family, and taking a look at my YouTube publishing for this fun kind of at-home experiment. So evaporation. I started the experiment about 7:38 p.m. on Monday, 12 May 2025. Water finished evaporating about 4:28 p.m. on Saturday, 7 June 2025, approximately day 25 in 20 hours and 50 minutes. This glass, I did not move once I settled it down. It was on my windowsill through water evaporation. And so I set it down and it monitored it for when I was awake and in the room. And I made a point of being in the room. All right, crystallization during water evaporation. Type 1, dehydrated crystals. So these are observable by eye above the water line. These are these ones that are on the side of the glass. And on the inside of the glass. They are like a fern and looks / patterns, which is called dendritic. And partial ring on the morning of Wednesday, 28 May 2025, about day 15.5, and then it filled out, formed a full ring and then grew upwards. Ring, and it was a concentric ringed growth, meaning around and up. And they were like little rings, and I watch each day, like as it progressed. I was like, that's very cool to watch. And just like within the day, not like day to day, but like within a day. It was very cool. It grew into larger dendritic fern-like pattern crystals to massive crystal, hard to distinguish individual crystals. So while there was still water in the glass and I was growing up, it in some places got hard to differentiate the rings, but then once the water was gone and it continued to dehydrate, the ring growth became more observable again. Massive just means it's hard to distinguish the crystals. It's still kind of like that, but it's, if each like thing that looks like a layer is a crystal, then the crystals are observable. Okay. Type 2, the mineral name is halite. If it had been cold temperature 0.1 degrees Celsius or lower, it would have been hydrohalite. So under cold temperature conditions, the mineral name is different. It's a different mineral. Observable by eye at the air-water interface at the top of the water. There was no clumping / clusters. They were square / rectangular crystals, and they showed up about on the morning of Saturday, 31 May 2025, about day 19. I opened my blinds and I was like, oh, and like it was very cool. I was like, let there be glint, you know, from the crystals. There are fewer and smaller, very euhedral, which means sharp edges and shape well defined. These settled to the bottom as the water level lowered. These had additional growth on surfaces, more fur-like as the water level lowered, perhaps depositional, meaning like the salt just kind of deposited out. Type 3, so now type 2 and type 3 are all the crystals on the bottom. And type 3 were the ones that were on the bottom. That's where they crystallized initially. So type 3 halite, if it had been cold temperature, 0.1 degrees Celsius or lower, would have been hydrohalite. Observable by eye on the bottom of the glass, at the bottom of the water, square/rectangular crystals on the morning of Saturday, 31 May 2025, about day 19. And there were fewer and smaller, very euhedral, sharp edges and shape well defined. These had additional growth on surfaces, more fur-like, as the water level lowered, perhaps depositional. I may describe type 2 and type 3 crystals, the ones at the bottom of the glass, with a mineralogy analogy. I got lots of little olivine instead of big augite. So if this was a lava flow, I got a bunch of little vibrant, like the gem peridot, one of the birthstones of August. I got a bunch of those little olivines, okay, instead of big, like, very, like, polyhedral augite. So I got the little ones. Recrystallization, so during water evaporation and post-water evaporation. During water evaporation, crystals of type 1 continued to grow, so it's the crystals inside the glass. Crystals of type 2 settled to the bottom of the glass, and crystals of type continued to form, so like each type. Recrystallization was not favored, rather growth on pre-existing crystals and new crystal formation were for the experiment's water quantity, salt quantity, temperature, and sunlight history. So, so recrystallization was not favored, segment, rather growth on pre-existing crystals and new crystal formation were favored for the experiment's water quantity, salt quantity, temperature, and sunlight history. Right. Post-water evaporation, dehydration of grains led to wider color of crystals, some furry exterior development. Yes, they were more transparent before they started to dehydrate. And then type 1, additional note, small orb shapes became more pronounced about day 27.5, morning of Monday, 9 June 2025. So there's like tiny little specular orbs on the inside that formed as it continued to dehydrate. So that's my reflection. Thank you for being part of my family. Me, Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. To you, filming this Tuesday, 10 June 2025. Thank you for being along for the experiment. Whenever you're viewing this, or wherever you're viewing this from.